in the churning mud of the Western Front, where the thunder of artillery never ceased and the acrid smell of cordite hung thick in the air, survival demanded more than courage. It required the ancient art of deception. World War I transformed the battlefield into a deadly canvas where visibility meant death, and the soldiers who lived to tell their tales were those who learned to disappear. They became students of nature itself, observing how the rabbit freezes against autumn leaves, how the deer moves through dappled forest light unseen. This wasn't theory discussed in distant academies. This was knowledge written in blood across no man's land, where a poorly concealed observation post or a glint of sunlight on a belt buckle could summon instant annihilation from an unseen sniper's rifle. The lessons learned in those desperate years would revolutionize military thinking forever, but more importantly, for us today, they reveal timeless principles of concealment and adaptation that remain relevant to anyone serious about fieldcraft and survival. Before 1914, armies marched in brilliant colours, French soldiers in bright blue coats and red trousers, British troops in scarlet tunics. The industrial slaughter that followed shattered these traditions within months. French artist Lucien Victor Guiron de Scevola, himself serving at the front, witnessed the carnage and proposed something revolutionary: entire units dedicated to the science of concealment. By 1915, France established the first camouflage corps, drawing from painters, theatre designers, and sculptors who understood light, shadow, and visual perception. These artists studied the natural world with the intensity of their lives depending on it, because they did. They observed how a fawn's dappled coat breaks up its outline in woodland shade, how the striped patterns on zebras confuse predators by disrupting the eye's ability to judge distance and speed, the owl butterfly's false eyes, the leaf insect's uncanny mimicry, the octopus's instant colour transformation, all became textbooks for survival. The soldiers quickly learned that simply matching colour to environment wasn't enough. A uniformly coloured object, even if matching the background, still maintained a recognisable shape, and shape meant target. The answer lay in disruption, in breaking apart the human silhouette into meaningless fragments. Snipers began wrapping their rifles in strips of burlap, coloured with mud, grass, and fabric scraps that created irregular patterns. These patterns didn't hide the rifle by making it invisible, but by destroying its outline, transforming the recognizable shape of weapon and man into visual noise that the eye couldn't easily process. Veterans learned to study the dappled patterns of sunlight through trees, the way shadows fell across broken ground, and to recreate these natural patterns on their uniforms and equipment. They smeared their faces with burnt cork and mud, not in solid colours, but in irregular streaks and patches that mimicked the play of light and shadow across human features. In the cold dawn hours before an attack, men would wire vegetation directly onto their helmets and uniforms, becoming walking pieces of the landscape itself. Observation posts became, masterpieces of deception. Rather than building obvious structures, soldiers created positions that used the existing landscape as foundation. A destroyed tree stump might be hollow, containing a sniper. What appeared to be a pile of rubble concealed a steel observation cupola. The Germans proved particularly adept at this, constructing artificial trees from steel and bark that they would secretly install overnight to replace actual trees destroyed by shelling. Inside these iron trunks, observers would spend days watching enemy lines through cunningly concealed apertures, their presence completely unsuspected. The French developed painted canvas screens depicting continuation of the landscape, allowing supply lines to function behind what appeared to be unbroken terrain. The soldiers of World War I faced an environment of unprecedented lethality, and their survival depended on rediscovering ancient truths that humanity had half forgotten in centuries of conventional warfare. They learned what every successful predator and prey animal knows instinctively, that invisibility is survival's most powerful weapon. These weren't abstract lessons, but, hard-won knowledge purchased with countless lives, refined through desperate necessity into principles that work because they must. Today, whether you're pursuing game, establishing a defensive position, or simply trying to move through wilderness without disturbing its inhabitants, you're drawing from the same well of knowledge. The landscape still speaks the same language of light and shadow, pattern and form. The question is whether you've learned to listen. That's what this channel is about, preserving these vital skills, honoring the ingenuity of those who came before, and ensuring these hard-won lessons continue serving those who value self-reliance and preparedness. Subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles. Share this video with others who understand that history's greatest teacher is survival itself, and join us as we continue exploring the techniques that kept soldiers alive in humanity's darkest hours, techniques that might just serve you when you need them most.